Guess we'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the September 13th, 2021 meeting of the Pine Bluffs Town Council. Would everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item is the agenda approval.
I move to approve the agenda as follows, as presented.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. The second item is the consent agenda. I'm still a bit confused. So the new laws state that even if someone who owns a Pine Bluffs liquor license pours anywhere outside of Pine Bluffs, we have to approve that?
Yes, it's out of their jurisdiction.
Okay.
And then that's why we have that letter too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I thought that's what you clarified. It still seems to.
So Mr. Acton, asked that, he have a letter now because the city of Cheyenne and the county requires him now to have an actual letter submitted stating that we give approval, so we will now have to provide a letter. So like the CASA event, he needed, because I think that's the one where he's at Archer and he needed, yeah.
So the letter originates from us.
We have to give him that we acknowledge that he's doing it, that we've given him, and then he takes it to them.
Any questions?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda items. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. On to new business. Item number 5, review and approve the final plat for the Shane subdivision first filing.
If I remember, I thought, wasn't there a gas line or a water line going to that property?
Sewer line that runs through that,
Right to the middle of it, right?
on the north end.
Oh, 'cause I thought, remember Tommy Dunn saying there was a line going right through that property. That's why the guy, whoever owned it prior, never developed it.
Just down there on the very north end of it.
Okay.
There's 2 cleanouts about
All right.
10 or 15 feet off in there.
Okay.
Anybody have any questions about it? Yes.
Kind of to Tom's question, that there was a communication line that went through there with missile, possibly?
Yeah. I could have sworn somebody said there was something going through that middle.
Most of those should show on his original. Do we have his original pre-split?
The missile line goes through our north property, right?
Yes,
Yes.
I know that one does.
We,
It doesn't show anything on the blueprints that I looked at. It doesn't even show the sewer outlets or the cleanouts down there.
they were pretty good about putting those, the north property. I mean, most of those missile easements, I can't say that it's not though. Like,
Well, then everybody else, it'd have to be across at least 3 or 4 other people. There could be something across there, but I know that sewer line runs east and west across the north end of that.
and but none of the drawings that we're currently receiving show any easements for anything. Was that a service line or a
I think
main
it's a
line?
service line coming from somebody. Where it comes from, because I thought everybody up there, they come lateral into the
Right,
sewer. So
that's
don't
why
know
I
if
can't
there's-
figure out why there would be a clean out. Do you think when we redid the sewer that it was abandoned?
I don't know.
Hmm.
No, there's 2 cleanouts there.
Alex, what would you suggest about that?
I think we need to confirm what's there. What's their, does anybody know what their urgency is or what their timeline is?
I would say, what I gathered is it's not urgent.
We could entertain a motion to postpone. Or you could approve it, conditionally, depending on what you find out. Yeah, when was 2 weeks, it wasn't a big deal, but now
Yeah.
it's into cold
So,
weather.
so I should have asked this, when we say first filing, this is our final determination on approving the split, right? I would agree with that.
Move to approve, the final plot on first filing on Shane subdivision. And as long as there's no problem with that sewer line or any other lines crossing that property that we have to have found or located or determined.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the final plat for the Shane subdivision, first filing, subject to the clarification of any utility impacts in that area. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 6 is the review and approval of consultant recommendation for the community master plan project. have Kim talk about,
Sure.
Yeah.
Last week I had emailed you all copies of the two plans that we received. We received one from Logan Simpson that is based out of Fort Collins, and, well, not based out, they have a branch out of Fort Collins, and one from Western Research and Development, which is located in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I did receive some input from one council member and the mayor, as well as the town clerk. I'm not sure if anybody else had any input on what they read. My recommendation, based on the requirements that we had listed in our request for proposal, and based on the criteria that we said we would be judging them on in our request for proposal, which includes the quality of the proposal, their experience and qualifications, their understanding of project objectives, outcomes, and vision, their creativity in preparing the deliverable, and their proposed budget and the ability to complete the work according to schedule, as well as references. I think that it's important to note that while it was not mandatory for them to attend the meeting that I held about a month ago, one of the two submissions, one of the two companies did attend that meeting, and because of that, I believe that they had a better understanding of our vision and objectives for the project. I think it's important that we keep in mind that we are looking at the future of Pine Bluffs, and this community master plan will assist us in obtaining the grants necessary to move forward with several projects. And, I think that our vision is that we are looking, for a community that is enticing for families to move here in the future or to remain here in the future. When we're talking about, especially some of our larger employment agencies, such as the school district, High West Energy, and other businesses throughout the community. For that reason, in understanding our objectives and our vision, I recommend that the firm of Logan Simpson. While both proposals were very thorough, I think that the way that Logan Simpson understood our vision for the future was a little bit more important. And, I think that we're looking for, like I said, some strong economic growth in the community, and some development that can work with our businesses to ensure that we have proper housing for all employees and residents throughout the community. Does anybody have any concerns or questions regarding my recommendation based on your reading of the two proposals?
Where is he from? From Cheyenne?
No, Logan Simpson has a branch office out of Fort Collins. One of the other things that's in this proposal too is for them to work on our zoning throughout the existing portion of town as well as into the north property. And I think that I would like to note that, one of them was, had the option, one of them proposed the option of bringing in another law firm, and the other one did not. I don't think that another law firm is needed. We have a town attorney who does a fine job on our ordinances, and I think it's really just looking at the perspective of a community planner to understand the changes that they would recommend in moving forward with our north property on our zoning, and not necessarily bringing in another legal team.
And how long is the master plan for?
So, it just depends. Our last community master plan here was done in 2004, and it wasn't done by a community planning agency. And so that one obviously is way out of date because we've had so many things happen in this community since 2004. We've had new businesses come in, we've had some other businesses retire and move out. Since then, we've purchased the north property and we've, started businesses started out there. So there's just so much that's gone on since then. So I think really it's, kind of where you try and think of doing one every 10 years, kind of the rule of thumb is, well, 10 years, but if you've done a ton of changes, then you probably need to think about looking at one sooner. We do have a grant from the Wyoming Business Council for this plan. And our grant is we have a match to it, but the overall project is for $50,000. And while this was not a request for bids, so their overall pricing shouldn't be a factor, it does appear that Logan Simpson, for the base cost of and understanding what our objectives are, they were able to meet those objectives within our budget of $50,000. And then they also, and both companies did provide alternatives that they could do for additional fees if we are interested in that. I would also like to stress that this plan includes a very basic feasibility, not a study, but a feasibility statement on a senior assisted living facility. If we want to go digging in depth for a feasibility study for that, then that would be another project, because that would bring in all kinds of economic indicators and things like, how many of the people that would be living there, how many bedrooms would we need, what sizes would they need, what kind of medical staff would we need, will we need a medical staff at all, and Medicare versus private payments and things like that. So that's a whole different study altogether, but in this study, they will look at the basic, would this community be able to support a senior assisted living facility? Is there a need for it here?
Any other questions? Well, they were both very thorough proposals, I would say, and yeah, obviously it's a difficult decision when one of those companies is from Wyoming, but I agree that with much, if not all of what you've said, that they seem to have hit what we asked for more closely than the alternative plans, so I would agree.
I move to approve Logan Simpson as the consultant for our community master plan project.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we approve Logan Simpson for our community master plan project. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is visitor comments and presentations. Oh, darn it. That's why I can't have my printed one. So now I've been saying the items wrong all night too. Item 8 is the, let's get that right up there, is the request from Pine Bluffs High School for fireworks following the homecoming game.
Sounds great to me.
Didn't sound official at all.
I move to approve Pine Bluffs High School setting off fireworks following their homecoming game.
Or they send them off for the fire department.
Or during their homecoming.
I assumed with with the fire department's assistance.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we approve the request from Pine Bluffs High School for fireworks following homecoming. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now on to visitor presentations and comments. We have Rosemary Henry with us from Wyoming Municipal Power Agency, and she's going to tell us about what we have going on there.
Absolutely. We've made a lot of changes. I don't know if you can see this presentation. If you can, I'll give it a try, and if not, we'll just talk through it. So really, we've changed who we are in the last year. We have become members of Basin Electric. We began this year as a generation and transmission company, which meant that we owned our own generating assets. We still hold the federal hydro contracts that we held before. What we have done is we have sold our generating assets now. We have defeased all of our debt, and in reality what that's done is changed who we are as an organization, and our costs have changed significantly. So we'll just talk through those pieces. So previously, we used cost-based resources for serving our member load. We had the federal hydro contracts that we still have, owned our own generation. We sold our excess generation into the marketplace, and we financed generating projects with bonds. Now we're going to continue to use those federal hydro contracts, just as much as we did before, but we're going to purchase cost-based power from Basin Electric Power Cooperative for the needs that exceed our federal hydro contracts. What hasn't changed is that we're still committed to serving our members. Our mission statement is to provide member systems with economic, long-term, reliable, and environmentally responsible electric power. Here's some of the key changes. We sold our shares of Laramie River Station and the Missouri Basin Power Project, which includes the Laramie River Station, and we defeased the 2017 Series A bonds. Those are the only bonds that WMPA held. This resulted in a savings of about $49 million in debt-related costs from 2026 to 2047. What this did is change the cost of our service for our members. Our cost of demand increased, our cost of energy decreased, financing costs obviously decreased when you pay off bonds, and the overall cost decrease on average is about 3.6%. But the estimated cost decrease will vary by member because of load factor. We're going to talk about that just a little bit. So, one of the notes I want to make here is that your city and town has additional costs other than purchase power. Purchase power is one of those costs, but you also have to supply, all the distribution service systems costs. So this may not translate directly into going into your customer's project pockets, but certainly helps the town. So here's how it looks on our estimated customer costs. And it does vary by member, but you can see the overall, everyone saves money. It's just the percentage changes a little bit depending on who you're talking about. So the reason the percentages are not the same is because the load factor for every community is not the same. Well, what is load factor? It's the measure of the efficiency of the use of resources, including generation, transmission, transformers, and related assets to serve load. Well, what's that kind of mean in real English? It's really how consistently you use power throughout the day. So if you think about the average resident, we tend to not use much power overnight when we're sleeping. Then we get up in the morning, we get ready for work, we turn on a shower, we turn on the TV, we start scrolling for our smartphones, then we go to work and the load continues to come up, and then at night we come home, we use a bunch of power, we cook dinner, we wash clothes, we do dishes, those kinds of activities, and the load goes up, then we all go to bed and the load falls back down. So here's what the load factor looks like by community, and you can kind of see where you end up there. And in reality, the higher the load factor, the better. That means you're using power more consistently over time. If you wanna talk about a high load factor load, it would be, some kind of a factory that ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A low load factor would be something along the line of a grain mill, okay? They come in and you dump grain into them, they run for a little bit and then they shut off, and there are months where they're completely and totally idle, but you end up having to pay for the infrastructure to be able to supply them with their ability to turn on their power at any point in time. And so that's really what they're paying for. So our budget has assumed a load factor of 0.69. As you can tell, that's pretty based on history. And this is how it falls out for the year. Kind of talked through this on the measure of consistency of energy. How does it work? How do you really, what would happen if you really wanted to reduce your demand costs? I'm not proposing you use any different energy, just change your times a day. So what we did here is just did a little exercise to say, you know, what if the agency wanted to lower their demand? What actions would it take for our consumers to be able to do that? And so what we did is said, well, what are kind of the key times where we're really seeing this demand come up, and how many times does that happen? What we really found is that there were six hours, at 5 p.m., 5:30, and 6 p.m., 6 times during the month of July. If you could have moved that off of there, you would have lowered your demand, significantly. So when the lowest hanging fruit that I see is if there's a way you can change when you pump your water. Because if you were able to, with your storage, pump water prior to, say, 1:30 in the afternoon and after 8:30, there's money to be saved. There are other things as well. I think if we continue down this path and it goes well, I think changing your rates for your large commercial customers makes a lot of sense, so that they save some money, the town saves some money, and WPA saves some money. You try to create a win-win-win. It takes a lot of work on your rate design to make that happen, but I think there's enough money that it's worth investigating. So just to get an idea, this is a very small improvement in load factor, 0.02, and yet you can see that there's money to be saved. You know, for Pine Bluffs, you're looking at $12,000. So in reality, if you can consistently save money this way, I think this is really where the next generation of cost change. So talk about kind of how do we start? I think we start with the community's load. You know, what are the town's largest internal loads? Pumping water seems a really obvious one to me, but my guess is I'm going to learn a lot from each of the communities about your specific loads. You know, what actions can be taken to lower the town's load during the peak hours? The way I'd like to go with this is education, data and information exchange between the community's employees and WMPA's employees, and then we'll just discuss opportunities for saving, discuss rate design, and I think the initial costs are just the time of both our staffs to look into the data and see how it goes. You know, what would come next? The thing that comes next is determining your town's largest customers, reviewing their load data, and determining what opportunities may be there. You know, then you want to update your rates so that these customers pay based on the community's cost of service. You folks did a cost of service study 2 years ago. Well, I think everything changed in that because now our costs have changed. And so as our wholesaler, we've changed our cost to reflect the new cost of service. That's going to impact how your cost of service goes, because we're your largest cost item in that piece. And we may want to get a consultant involved, you know, if we get into that stage. So here's the summary. Our commitment to our customers remains strong and unchanged. We're going to continue to serve our load with our federal hydro contracts, and then we have a long-term agreement with Basin Electric Power Cooperative. There are no debt costs any longer in our rates. Our cost structure has changed based on our cost of service to you folks. We intend to work with the members to improve load factor and lower costs, and we expect stable rates for the next probably 3 years. And that concludes what I have to say. I'd love to have any questions that you may have.
So do you think the change to, from generating to purchasing changes the reliability factor at all for your member communities?
No, I don't at this point in time, because really, there's a lot of excess generation in Wyoming, and there's a strong transmission system, and we, unlike Texas, I'm sure that's what you're alluding to, unlike Texas, we're not so dependent on natural gas and natural gas supply. Basin Electric tends to, they're both the operators of Laramie River Station and Dry Fork Station, and the minimum level of coal that they keep on hand is 30 days. So in reality, you could ride out a storm like that, pretty well. Also, unlike Texas, some of the freezing problems they had, we just build things differently in the north. We're already set up to handle those kinds of things. I mean, I was kind of surprised to learn that they had some problem with coal plants freezing up and that kind of thing. And really, the reality is some of their piping isn't even underground because they get away from all the confined space, but it's so much warmer. So at this point in time, I'm not terribly concerned about reliability. WMPA still continues to own our little bits and pieces of transmission that are owned by you folks. You own us, we don't own you. And all of those are in good shape at this point in time, all that transmission system. Doesn't mean a tornado couldn't take you out, but in reality, they've been checked, fairly consistently. That's a very good question, though. The only thing I'll add is I'm meeting with your staff tomorrow morning. We're going to talk about real ways to start saving money and putting this in place.
So that's, not to interrupt, but that's one of the questions I had. So if you're, organizationally, if you're shifting from this generation to purchasing to, I don't know what it looks like, but how much time will you be able to devote to assisting member communities in that maybe haven't had the resources in the past to do more complex rate designs and things like that we probably should be doing? How much time will be, I mean, do you have the available time and resources to help with that?
We do now, yes. I believe that's exactly a direction that we want to go, and I mean, I don't want to speak for Alan, but he's on our board of directors, as you know, and I believe there's a lot of support from our board level to put energy into this. I mean, to be quite honest, this is the next best way for our communities and for WMPA to save money. The co-ops are ahead of us in general on this. They've been doing this kind of, load management for quite a while. We didn't need to, in reality, because, a year ago at this point in time, to be quite honest, it wasn't in the money. Economically, it didn't make sense for us to do a lot of load management. But now our rates look different. So in reality, it does make sense. And I think capacity is going to become an increasing cost, and that speaks to the reliability situation, because dispatchable generation is getting more scarce, and just basic supply and demand from Economics 101 tells you that's where the costs are going to be.
Mayor Curtis is our representative on the WMPA board, so do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Well, Rosemary hit on it pretty good, I think. I think there is a genuine commitment from the staff of WMPA to help the local, the municipalities. We don't have a electrical engineer on staff that can work through these things, and I know in previous meetings as all this was developing that was a priority. And so it's going to take some doing. It's going to take some good communications all the way through. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to meet with the staff in the morning to kind of get things started, plant the seed, and then work in that direction. Every community that is involved in this is gonna be a little bit different. So it's gonna be important, you know, to have their professional input specific to what our needs would be.
And from our long-term plan, we envision in a year from now, really re-engaging with UFS again, to have them look at our rate design, see if they agree with the buckets that we've put the costs into. And that'll probably fall down to, you know, talking to the communities, because that's what those folks really do for a living. You know, we do it annually, you know, but they do it every day, day in and day out. So there's a lot for us to learn from them also and take with us into that. So that really we do the costs. We use our cost of service to serve customers, and so we're charging people as absolute fairly as possible.
Would you say that there's any urgency on the rate structure currently with what we've done? I think we're in pretty good shape.
Yep.
That it's not an alarming situation, but it's just something that you have to keep evolving into, you know, into the future, especially with potential growth and those types of things.
Yes. We'd actually like to learn some about downstream from your systems, as well as teach you some about how our costs work before we engage somebody from the outside, really, so we kind of vet out, frankly, at low cost, we vet out some of the opportunities, so we're ready to discuss it with them. And I don't think we're there yet. I think I'd like to know a lot more. Because in reality, what we've done is looked at the agency as a whole and then the community as a whole. But I couldn't tell you who your largest 3 customers are. I might be able to guess just based on, you know, school systems and those kind of things, but in reality, I'd like to look at the hard data and to the extent possible, look at the hourly data, just like we are for WMPA, to come up with which hours are each communities really contributing to WMPA's peak, to try to learn how those pieces fit together. Yep, so.
Good.
And would you suggest that as the community inevitably grows, as we have all of these projects in mind in the upcoming years, is that something that we would then later revisit as maybe our demand changes? Then we would go through and revisit those costs and potentially do another change there?
Absolutely, very well put, yes, because in reality, if you up your load factor, let's say you take it, you're at 0.66 right now, let's say that goes to 0.7, you're gonna wanna change how your rates are structured. That in itself will be a guiding light to you on how that goes. And as you try to improve things, you're gonna raise the bar, you know? Yep, so, exactly. Thank you. I appreciate you
Yeah.
taking the time.
Thank you. Anything else? Yeah, I'd like to thank Rosemary for coming today, and for Alan, Mayor Curtis for getting her here, and maybe starting some dialogue about how we move forward with this, but quite a change in a
Yes.
year.
Yes. And I want to especially thank Alan and all of our board members. The last couple of years, we've had a lot of longer board meetings, a lot of discussion. I mean, we really dumped everything out on the table to say, you know, what's the best way. I don't know if some of you are aware, but part of what was pushing us into this is the larger utilities in our area signed up to go into a 5-minute energy imbalance market. And we were concerned about the best way for WMPA to go into that. And we had a lot of options. We ran about 50 cases of different things we could do. Some of them very unique options, because we were given things that were apples to oranges to compare. And we tried to get them all apples to apples and shake out the best one. But that took a lot of dedication and a lot of reading and a lot of commitment by your board members. And Alan was very engaged. And so, you know.
Rosemary made it pretty easy for us. She did the heavy lifting, I'll tell you.
Well, thanks again.
Thank you.
Visitor comments? Can you state your name?
Pam Hawes. I have a few comments. I think we've lived here quite a few years, and this is a few pictures of what this one has been going on and on and on and on. way back when, and we haven't had any answers. Just that we need to treat him with, a little bit special, and I don't know why that is. I never have understood that.
So maybe
And
you
then-
could
That's
just,
that's the corner of where I live.
okay, so maybe explain, Where
Okay, so
you
the
live
corner,
and which-
we're on Blair Street. Fifth and Blair is where all the cars are and whatever else he has parked there. And he usually has, he has a camper. He's put it up on the sidewalk. And I don't know if that's how that goes with being on the sidewalk in our town, whether we have to have our sidewalks clear or not. And now he has several, race cars. And I know he's been told to clean them up. These are today's pictures. This is a good day. And then the ones the next door neighbors to him, I'm not really sure what the person is doing, if he is cleaning up that land
you're saying to the north.
to the north. So we have two people on the corner and then to the north that, I mean, our street is horrible. The people across the street cannot get out anything. They couldn't even get their camper out if they wanted to. There's two campers there that are on the street, which we are not supposed to have on our street. And the windows are busted out. They're not livable, those two little campers. And if he's a business, I mean, he can't, in my opinion, I guess, he can't have all of his business vehicles and everything all on our street because that we can't get out. There's been times in our alley, and that's our access to our garage is the alley.
Now you're
And-
talking about the one on the corner or further?
Well, either
both?
one. Sometimes on the corner, they block the alley also when they're working on all the vehicles. So, we can't get our camper out unless we back out sometimes. And I mean, it's totally trash. And you cannot tell me that this would happen up on Beach Street. This would have been cleaned up a long time ago.
This has been an ongoing aggravation of mine. We're going on 3-4 years.
Oh, at least.
We had his camper originally was sitting in the street,
Yes.
stretched out. Well, we told him he couldn't do that, so he moved it up on the sidewalk, and it's been there for years with a propane tank sitting in the street.
Exactly. So how is that? Are our sidewalks, who are those owned by? Are those owned by the town? Or can we put anything on our sidewalks? Can I block my sidewalk?
Chance, can you help us out here?
Well, I'd just like to say about that before Chance goes, we've had, just to be clear, we've had other properties around town who have had yard debris sitting on their sidewalks for a month or 2 or 3 or 4.
On
I
my
can't
side of
tell
the
you,
town?
no, yes. And those properties we have made an effort to clean up, and so to that end, what is the different, we can't decide that your pile of yard debris is a bigger problem than a whole camper parked along a sidewalk. I'm saying, in fairness to what you're saying, we can't pick the low-hanging fruit and get somebody to shovel up their yard debris and yet let a camper sit there for years.
For
and
how
years.
many years? I mean,
Been at least 4 years.
at least.
Anyway, Chance.
So with the property on the corner, I think we address that every time we see it, and so we just play this game of, move your stuff or I'm gonna tow it, it gets moved, and then, shortly afterwards, it's back on there. And so that, I believe we've sent notices to his property too, that we're going to fine him the $750 per day if that doesn't get cleaned up. So anything blocking the street, that resident has been informed that those vehicles will be gone if they're not moved. So I just think CARES one of the things, you need to get over there and make those things happen. So they've been informed, we're just at enforcement of
Can we be clear about which property you're currently talking about?
the one at the corner of Fifth and Blair.
With the cars.
Thank you.
With the cars and the RV park. The one to the north of that,
What is his plan?
so that individual, they had moved, right? And they're cleaning up that property. And so because they've taken like a day, they're out there with like a bulldozer and a rollout, cleaning up the property to move that stuff that's on the street into that back area, we've kind of given them some grace. So it looks like to us, when I've gone over there, there's piles of just garbage and debris that he's planning to move into the rollout. But they've also though, like we can't have building materials on the street. So we've been
Right.
told about the same thing. I guess it just comes down to the logistics of, then what am I gonna do with 30-foot pieces of sheet metal? They don't fit in the back of my patrol car, so I'm not able to necessarily like toss them in the trash like I'd like to.
Well, are they there to fix the house, or is it just part of his business that he doesn't have any place else to go with? I mean, because the
Right.
pickups
Yeah.
have business names on it.
Exactly, yeah, and exactly, and so the pickups have business names on them, but either way, that stuff, it's a hazard, it's an eyesore, we like it to be moved,
So
just like
he-
everything else in
He
town.
has moved the tin and stuff up on his property,
Sure.
but what about those campers?
I believe we talked about one of them that's not registered, that one can get towed off the street, but registered vehicles, and actually it's kind of cutting into my department reports, but we've seen just a lot of recreational vehicles around town that people have been plugging into their town, that's against the ordinance from 2017.
To
you
do
know,
what?
To plug in your camper and leave it on the street for more than 3
Oh.
days. So we've noticed that, we kind of let that slide a little bit because people were picking up their properties around town. And, you know, with the camping and COVID and everything else, we didn't want to harp on people for having, you know, an extended stay, but it's getting to the point where it is ridiculous, and we have seen people with their slide outs fully extended. It's just unsafe, and so we need people to tuck in their slide outs and get those RV or recreational vehicles off the street after 3 days, or they will be cited, or we will move them. And I just, the cost to move your recreational vehicle is expensive, so please, if you could, just take care of that. Park them up on your property. They need to be fenced in too. So the other ordinance is that anything on your property needs to be fenced in. It needs to be covered. And so there's properties around town that, you know, I think the town's doing a good job of addressing. We've sent several notices too, but any garbage or debris or big piles of firewood or building materials or anything that you have on your property needs to be covered or have a fence around it. And so we are being very proactive about that, but there's just a lot of steps to being able to do something that have to be placed first.
So, to be clear with that, so our camper is on our property.
Mhm.
That should be fenced in.
Yeah, fenced in and tucked into the property.
It is
So-
tucked into the
So
property.
basically,
It's on
it
ours.
can't be like on the front lawn is the intent of
Right,
that.
so do you give like, say I was loading something and I needed to put it in my front yard,
3 days.
3 days?
And that's the intent of that 3 days.
That's fine,
Right.
but,
Yeah, but after that, it's not intended to have your extended family or
Right.
relatives that you don't want in your house in there. You know,
Right.
Or, you know, so we just like that to get off.
okay, so these two campers, they're not they're not livable.
They're not livable, but his point to the one that was registered was that it's used for works, debris and stuff like that, and then he tosses it off.
It's a camper.
I agree with you. I agree with you, but usage is another story. So either way though, they both need to be off the street. They've been there for a week,
Well, it's
Or
been
long
there
since.
longer.
2 Thursdays ago.
And so the people that now, he keeps moving them from side to side. And so the people where it's blocking now, they can't get their camper out if they even wanted to.
So anything that would block your access to your property like that,
Mhm.
let me know and we'll have it towed.
So those people need to tell you.
If they have a problem with their property or have access to their
So
property,
I know
just
that
give us
she
a
has
call.
already talked to you, I know she has. Because then they wanted to get rid of some of their trash that they had called down to be able, and they didn't even have any place to put that.
So they put it in.
So I think it is now in their dumpster, their rollout dumpster that they have in front of their house. And the people that are in, that's remodeling. I don't know, but it has gone off of their place, and I think it is in the blue roll-off. But anyway, they don't have much access to their property, and it makes our block look even worse than it has. And to tell you the truth, I'm really just tired of our block looking like crap. And I mean, it's not even just now, this has gone on for years in our area.
We have noticed though that you sent some letters because we do have a neighbor that has cleaned up his property.
And it
a
looks
lot
better than
from what it
any of those
normally
on the
looks
other
like.
two. So,
Well, I think our objective is not to pick and choose, certainly, that's nobody's intent.
no,
But we have a process by where we evaluate properties, and I'll be honest with you, the one on the corner is a known problem, and frankly, we aren't pressing hard enough on that, and the other one's a more
it's current.
current problem, and to that end, I would say,
It's not a lasting one, and that's what is that the plan?
Well,
It's not a lasting?
So just been talking to him, and because we've seen the progress on the property, I didn't want to, add insult to injury to him and say, I know you had some hardship, but here's another ticket, so. It's just
Well,
trying.
he's not the owner. I mean,
No, he's not, that property's been in rough shape.
right,
These new folks are just moving into it and doing repairs to it.
right, and I don't want to pick on him, but I mean, you can't tell me I can't have my good-looking camper on the street and those two is okay.
No, and I agree with you. I think it's just the understanding that he's doing quite a bit of, there's so much that was
I
behind
know,
that property.
and I'm thankful, because believe me, it's horrible down there. I mean, it could be rat infested as far as I know.
Absolutely.
And
There's some really unique features that were left there and that he's cleaning up. So again, because he was cleaning it up and in a few weeks' time, that place will look a lot better.
I hope so,
And
because
so
I
that's why
will not
kind of
stop at
leniency
this.
with that tenant now.
Chance, in the process, can we give the, whatever you guys think, but if there's an end date, if there's a
Right,
finite time, can we provide this family with a place to temporarily put their stuff other than on your block? Only keep the stuff there they're actively using to work on the property and give them a month or whatever's appropriate. Can we give them some access to some place that we have that they could temporarily put the stuff while they're cleaning out the back of that property?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll work on determining that property or that location, and we'll.
I mean, just something to mitigate it for temporarily, so everybody's kind of
I think if
moving
that's
in the
something that
same
we can,
direction.
establish location, that would be safe for people to put their property. When we have those things, people moving or. that
for a
would be
short
great.
term.
For short term, I think that'd be great, if we could find a location for that.
Okay.
So in regards to the one on the corner, why really haven't we been able to take care of that?
Well, I can't really speak to that, but what I'd like Chance to do is to go, I guess, see the level and for us to work together and work with the property owner on the actual number of code enforcement issues that are actively occurring on the property, and maybe actually see a list, because frankly, I feel like some of us know what feels maybe wrong to us, but then again, I don't 100% know, whether that's legal, illegal,
Right.
or not. But I think we could all agree that some of it probably is, and that we need to take a hard look at what all is the issue.
So I'm assuming that he thinks that it's all okay because it's backed up to his garage, and that it's not all the way out in the street, it's backed up to his garage, so,
But two of the cars are sitting on the sidewalk.
Right.
So with the sidewalk too, the argument is always that they're responsible for the sidewalk. And so if I'm responsible for the sidewalk, I should be able to use the sidewalk.
And is that,
Which I don't.
what is that with our town? Is that
Which I
an
don't.
ordinance or
You
not?
can't put it on this, well, I agree, they're responsible for their sidewalk.
Right,
But they can't bluff their sidewalk.
They can't, yeah, they can't block.
okay, so that whole corner is blocked.
They don't have to move.
Well, one of the issues on that corner too is, in fairness, and there's no reason to go back and revisit this, but I'm not 100% sure how the garage ever passed any kind of setback requirements, and, but it's there now, and so now we have to deal with it.
Right.
And so,
No,
to that end, I think Chance needs to actively review what all maybe problems are over there and report back and see what we can get done with the landowner to move forward with some of those.
So I've been told that the person, the new people, has a temper. So I don't want to approach him, and I know the corner guy has a temper. So I don't want to approach him, but I mean.
Well, that's, we have people for that,
Okay,
so
but I mean.
I would
and
suggest not.
I'm not gonna let this drop anymore, because like I said, the corner has been there for years, and we've been told, well, we have to be nice, we have to kinda go tippy-toe around him. Well, why, is what my question has always been, why? Why is he so special? I mean, I don't understand it, so I hope it gets taken care of.
We will start pursuing that and checking into it.
So then I have a couple other little beefs, I'm sorry, guys. But I was told that, and this is very trivial, but I was told that we are looking into new garbage dumpsters. And if you are, that's great, but it's been quite a while since I asked this question. And I have one of our garbage, this top is broke off, the lid. And I have asked to get that replaced, and it hasn't, and the cats are starting in again. So what about the garbage that is in our alley? If it fits in the dumpster, can we put it in the dumpster?
Like somebody leaves it next to the dumpster?
No, the trash is all over because of the cats, but then there's other dumpsters that's down the road, and I don't know where all that garbage came from. I don't know if it came from the other house or the one right next to it, but there's a lot of garbage, not garbage, but junk that is sometimes moved out in the alley and sometimes not. Can that go in the dumpster and it be picked up? One of them is a large dog crate and some other wood that just, to me, looks like it would have been set out for the town to clean up if we had a cleanup day.
I wouldn't recommend putting it in the dumpster even if it fits. There are certain items that could cause damage to the truck, like if it's like a metal pipe or like depending on how big the wood is. So I suggest, Mayor and Council, that we just send Public Works down that alley to do any bulk trash pickup that appears to be there.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And
And there's a lot of,
get that dumpster lit.
a lot of the corner that we can't get out, between the bushes that have grown clear over and the corner and the what.
And we'll take some photos. The bushes are the property owner's responsibility.
Yeah,
and they
it
need to
has
be
been,
cut
but he
back
doesn't
even
live
in the
there.
alleys. Okay.
I think he's, if you're referring to the one across the alley to the south, I think that could probably be
I'll go down there
easily.
and take my, and make it look nice.
I think that could be easily fixed, but that's a good thing for property owners to note, is that even if they don't use their alley, many people do, including our garbage trucks and
Right.
our emergency
Trash truck.
medical services. So people need to be cognizant of letting their stuff spill over into the alleys.
And, you know, some of the properties don't have alleys, so they have to put their smaller stuff out front, but emergency vehicles, garbage trucks, they have not been able to go down our alley.
So so anything in the alley will be removed.
Okay.
The alley's not theirs. So if it's blocking the alley, if it's a vehicle that stays in there, we're gonna tow it out of there. But if it's junk that's spilling into it, we're gonna get it out of there too, it's gonna get tossed, if it's in the alleyway. So a lot of the things that we're
Well, I
seeing
think
now.
it's been moved back a little bit, but I know it's not stuff that they, well, I shouldn't say that,
The trash truck has trouble getting on that alley.
Yes,
He
yeah,
does.
we have a few alleys like that, but yes, that one.
Yeah, so there's like 66 junk vehicles in the alleyways that aren't covered by fences, and then those all been addressed, notice has been sent, and we're just going through that process to get those owners to comply with getting that cleaned up. So it's just a process though, so.
well,
Thank you.
and that's great, but the process on the corner has been way too long, so.
Thank you. Any other comments? I think we'll move on to department reports. Jana? Bubba?
I don't have anything.
Ally?
Nothing terribly pressing for EMS. Just still short on volunteers and trying to figure out what their next move is. There's some upcoming EMS training, so if anyone at home listening is interested in becoming an EMT, that would be great. Otherwise, I think business as usual.
Tom?
Got one question for Kim. I got a complaint again on the cemetery on the directional. When are you gonna get that fixed?
Are you on the what?
The directional in the cemetery?
The directory?
Oh,
Your
the
directory.
directory? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a brand new directory, what is?
It's not working, according to what they said, and I talked to, Renee the other day about it, and she was gonna go up and take a look at it. She said something to do with the Wi-Fi or something, I'm not sure. But the guy asked me about it, and he says, it's been going on for a couple of months now, ever since we got the new one in, it hasn't been working. Okay,
Well,
that's all I had.
Alex?
No, I can't think of anything, we haven't already.
Chance?
I have one more little question. Why is our cemetery not taken care of? The lawn looks horrible.
I think we
I'll touch on
we
that
can
in my
address
department
that.
report.
Chance?
Sorry, thanks, Mayor. So just to recap on the recreational vehicles, they can't be on the street or plugged in. Can't be on the street for more than 3 days, can't be plugged in, period. So we ask that if that's your case, that you take care of that immediately, unplug it and move it back onto your property. Trash is a problem in town. We've seen several people from outside our community bringing trash into the community, and that is something that we need active support from the community to address. Those individuals get charged with littering, and it's a $750 fine. So if you see or you notice somebody that is dumping trash in, or you just see piles of trash, let us know. We will go through it and try to figure out through bills or whatever else who it belongs to and address that accordingly, because it is such a problem that we want to take care of it, because that's a direct cost to us, the residents, that we'd like to reduce. And then also on a good note, we have Life Choices. They're an organization that wants to partner with us, the police department, town recreation. They provide classes, everything from parenting to financial classes and things of that nature. And so please look to our website here. In the upcoming weeks, we'll be advertising that those classes are going to be available. They're presented by folks from that organization, and they're just very informative. I think especially with some parenting, new parents out there, I know I can tell you it's pretty scary, and it's nice to have some good information on how to, all the latest and greatest safety tips, things of that nature. So that will be advertised on our page soon, and we just encourage people to participate and sign up. So, thank you, Mayor.
Think about this, Jackie, do you have anything? Kim?
Hi, I have a bunch of stuff. So, let me first touch on the cemetery, because I know that's a concern for a number of folks in the community. We start with the trees. As you know, we had some unfortunate incident happen where we started losing our trees at the cemetery. And so we've had them all removed, but due to the timing, we couldn't replace all the trees as soon as the other ones were removed. So we currently have an order in to try and get trees planted this fall so that they're ready to go in the springtime. However, there's a chance that we won't get the sizes and species that we want, but at any rate, if they're not done this fall, they will be planted very first thing in the springtime as soon as weather permits. In addition to the trees, we do have it in our budget this year to replace the fence on the chain link fence on at the front entrances of the cemetery. And that chain link fence and that concrete little curbing that it sits on top of, that will all be removed and will be replaced with a black decorative metal fence with some enhancements to the entrance, each of the entranceways. And then when it comes to the grass, as you know, we've been battling the windmill grass and weeds out there for quite a while. And there isn't a quick fix. From my understanding, the windmill grass isn't just something we can...
Is that purpley thing that gets so long?
The one with the little, looks like little propellers at the top of it. And it goes to seed very quickly, and you know, it's very difficult to get rid of. And you know, it's not like maybe going out there with a pre-emergent or something, just, you know, getting rid of dandelions. It's far more cost and labor intensive. So in the near future, we will be releasing an RFP to get bids on what it will take to actually take care of the grass at the cemetery, as far as you know, providing us a bid to, you know, with options to either A, treat all of the weeds and the windmill grass out there and get rid of it and try and grow new. B, to go in there and just kind of kill everything off and maybe hydro seed, or C, to go in there and, you know, what would be the ultimate and probably the most costly, but to go in there and replace it with sod. But we understand that there's an issue out there. I mean, so much so that the lawnmower that they use at the cemetery, can't take to like City Park and other areas.
Not after they've been there.
Not after they've been there, unless it's been thoroughly cleaned. So, so we understand the problem, and we realize that we don't have the manpower or capability to handle that issue. And so we're gonna put that out as a project and see about getting contractor support.
Just to comment on that, I think windmill grass there's like one chemical that kind of works, but in the process, you are likely to kill a lot of what you want to stay there, and it's a tremendous problem, and it didn't happen overnight, and we're probably, you know, barring resodding, we're not gonna fix it overnight, but we understand that,
So where
not
does
just from you,
Does
but
it just
from.
blow in?
It came all the way to my yard. My yard is filled of them on the south side.
And I think if you're diligent about it in small doses, it's pretty good, but that's a pretty wide open area that's, you know, it's just, I think this, you can't really spray a selective chemical, so you're just, you know, it's very time and labor intensive to try to take it out chemically, and sometimes not very effective. So we're kind of we're in a jam about it, I would say.
I understand, you know,
Right.
when you just drive by, it doesn't look that bad, but what the town has experienced in the last 10 days with 4 big
Yeah.
funerals.
Well, it looks good right after it's mowed.
Yeah.
That would have been better. But
Yeah,
either way, and I think we should all start thinking about maybe how we incorporate that into a larger program where we bid out, possibly,
So how do
bid
you,
out all of our spraying and park needs maybe, and, we've had some discussions, but maybe that's something everyone could think about. And I think this winter, we really need to address what direction we're going on in the Parks Department. And it's taking a lot of our public works time to do what we're doing, and difficult to get to some other projects that I think everyone feels like maybe we should be getting to, so.
Do you put a chemical on the park to keep the weeds down there? Do you do a weed killer and
They
stuff?
don't have that.
No, I know. I was just wondering how they
Right.
keep that down.
Well,
About, excuse me, Kim, about 15 years ago, the windmill grass got real bad at Rear Park.
At Rear Park?
At Rear Park, there, that's where it started. And then it blew around, and then we'd mow there, and then we'd run up to the,
Okay.
and we'd mow up there, and that's how it got.
Sure.
And anybody, like Chance, you know, he left out and waited to get his new grass till, when we did rework Rear Park, we took actually the topsoil off, and then brought sod in and reseeded in new topsoil. So that's why there's no windmill grass at Rear Park anymore. What was it, 4 or 5 years ago,
yeah.
when we redone that? Put the soccer fields up there and that? So that's,
that's
but
the
it
back
will
part.
be back, because everybody around has got it. So, and it's really invasive. It'll take over a lawn, and not very long. And the only way I know of getting rid of it is to kill it, kill the
And
lawn.
start all,
Start over. Or at least kill the places that have the windmill grass,
that would be the
and then dig
cemetery.
them out.
The whole thing almost.
You know, we have a lot of uneven areas in the cemetery as well, where the earth has kind of dipped in and things like that. And, you know, I think in the process, we also hope to bring in, you know, another layer of topsoil and help that out. And I can tell you, in the process of planting the new trees, we will be also removing some of the soil, so that we can ensure that we don't let whatever has killed the other trees.
What, see, and I didn't even know
So
that you
when-
took out all of those. I guess it's been forever since
Right,
they went
yeah.
that way.
So I mean, it started with a couple, and then it just kind of spread to that whole row, and there was maybe 1 or 2 healthy trees left, but then they looked they would have looked odd where they were. So, you know, we did we sent a couple of soil samples off. You know, I think that one of the things came back that there was a high salt concentration, but there was also discussion from the folks in Cheyenne that it was that there was some other kind of chemical too that has just leached into the root system, and
Oh, really?
it just, just kind of wiped them out. So, so they've all been removed, and, you know, I think that within the next year's time frame, over the course of the next year, I should say, you will see some significant improvements, and the cemetery will be beautiful.
I hope so.
So it's gonna take a lot of work, and it's gonna take a lot of contractor support to get that done,
Nobody thought that the park would ever look pretty again either, so, and it does.
and it does, yeah.
We might ask for community help. I would be, I'd volunteer in a heartbeat to help clean the place up. And I know I'm not the only one.
Well, that's fantastic to know, and we'll
Yep.
definitely put that out there. So the other thing I would like to talk about is our trash program. You know, we have funds set aside that we could, to replace dumpsters this year, but something that we are also doing is reaching out to some firms to give us some costs on potentially privatizing the trash program.
Oh.
And, you know, when you look at the requirements of our public works employees, as far as becoming water and wastewater operators and other fuel tank operators, all these requirements that are only being increased annually by the DEQ and the EPA and all those other government acronyms, you know, they have a lot of training requirements, and they all have to pull, you know, on-call duty, and, you know, finding a dedicated person to only do the trash program that does a good job and that is proficient at maintaining the large vehicles and maintaining all the dumpsters. You know, it's a challenge. And, you know, we have somebody very good in the trash truck right now, but he is aspiring to move on to become a water and wastewater operator. So we're looking at that option. So, as opposed to jumping right in and purchasing those dumpsters right away, we're, you know, feeling some things out right now, and we should have some information to present to the mayor and council, here within the next couple of weeks for them to review for the next meeting.
Have you looked into the, where you put the 2 trash cans, one for the
Yes.
grass and one for trash?
That's something that, one of the companies that we're talking to is looking at. And, you know, the nice thing about that is that it will eliminate any, it will eliminate people from out of town being able to put trash in.
It would? And how's that?
Well, because if you have just roll-offs at each individual house, is that what you're talking about? Yeah. Then, I mean, unless somebody goes onto your personal property and puts trash in your trash can, then.
Well, we do have someone that comes, they have their own, but they come on down and use ours all the time. But
Right, but it will be, right now with the dumpsters, people are allowed to put their trash in any dumpster that's available to them throughout the community.
Right.
So they could take their trash from Blair Street and go over to Walnut and put it in a dumpster there.
But they're paying for it.
But they are
too.
paying for it. You know, the thing that concerns us are the folks that, you know, maybe come in from, that are not paying customers.
Exactly.
And in addition to that, you know, it will also maybe help with the folks who end up getting like a giant mattress stuffed in their dumpster, or we pulled out an entire recliner from a dumpster, all those things. And again, every time trash comes up, I just want to throw it out there that if you have large items that you need picked up, we have a bulk trash program where our guys will come around and pick it up at no additional cost to the customer. Just give the town hall a call and we will schedule to get that
And
done.
see, and since you didn't, and why didn't we have a fall cleanup?
We haven't had a fall cleanup in a number of years.
Haven't we?
No, and what we did was we got rid of the fall cleanup and we replaced it with this free bulk trash pickup
Oh,
program.
I think it's great.
Yeah, and that way people don't have to wait to a certain time of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Most people focused on the spring cleanup, so we didn't have as much at the fall, but we thought, let's have something available throughout the year. We'll still have the spring cleanup.
I think it's great, yeah.
So some other updates, we have signed an agreement with our electrical engineer to go ahead and get started on our load survey. We're just waiting for an opening in their schedule. They're supposed to be getting back with us shortly on that. For the rear park playground project, we should see the 30% plans, and we should begin that we'll be releasing the RFP and have the site grading and all that done. The valve replacement project for our sewer lagoons, they will be on site September 27th, and so we will start coordination on that as well. We have requested that our bonds be paid off early for our specific purpose tax projects that were bonded from the 2017 monies that started rolling in. So we should see some savings there. I should have those numbers to you here within a week or so. And I'm requesting permission, you know, on our debt pay down money. Actually in our project account, we have a little over $1 million. And the projects that we need to finish up are our sewer valve replacement project and our debt retirement. So I've reached out to SLIB for some payoff amounts. And instead of waiting until December, I would like to go ahead and get 2 of our loans paid off this week. I would like to pay off our JPA loan. The payoff for that will be $397,770.82. That is our highest interest rate at 4%. The annual payment, I'm sorry. The annual payment on that loan is $32,376,000. That loan was part of the original land purchase for the north property. Again, in our budget, I had it scheduled to pay in full by December, and I would like to get that paid off this week. The other one that we originally talked about paying off was our SRF loan 138, which was from our water distribution project. That's an annual payment, of $20,351. We have a balance of 284, or close to 285,000 on that. But I would like to forego paying that one off in lieu of paying SRF loan 159. While it's a lower balance, the balance on that is $159,494. I would like to pay it off because that will free up our north property 100%. Because we have started having promising discussions with the developers for that property. And I really don't want there to be any holdup with our loans on that property. Currently, if we rent or lease the property or make any money on the property at all, a portion of it has to be paid to SLIB anyway towards that loan. So to me, it makes sense to just go ahead and pay that one off. And then the other SRF loan that's a little bit older, I believe that we will be able to pay off next fiscal year. So I am kind of floating this by you to get your thoughts on it. And if you're good with it, I would like the permission to go ahead and get JPA loan 15582 and SRF loan 159 paid off this week. We do have the funds in our account.
Good deal.
Pay them.
Consider them paid.
Kim,
Do we need a motion to do that?
I think Kim has inherent authority to do that.
Yeah, I just wanted to float that by you before I made that change, and to let you know what the thought process was, and that we have had these promising discussions. Mayor Fornstrom and I had a meeting with some folks last week, and I think that, once that discussion all starts rolling, I think any other companies that may be interested will start coming our way as well, so.
I got a quick question about the North property. I know it's been several years since I seen the plan that we had for that. Have we finalized that plan? And I know that probably some of the new council members haven't probably seen that.
Okay, so I will provide a copy to everybody of that plan that was finalized in 2018. I have approached our engineers that we have on staff now, not on staff, but contracted to look at that plan, and based on our utilities master plan that we have right now, to kind of give us their thoughts on any updates that it might need. And so I think that there are a few things that probably we need to change. I mean, since that plan was released, we have since determined that we'll be relocating the railroad crossing, for instance. And since that plan was released, we've, put in Wyoming malting, Pine Bluffs distilling has become a successful business on that property. So there are some changes. And I think that, our demographics has changed a little bit since 2018. Our population has changed a little bit, so I think that we need to just give it a little refresh, not a complete rewrite or a complete revamp. And it is part of our community master plan to incorporate the two, to marry the two into our community master plan. So.
I also think in terms of portions of it, based on our discussions, that while we have some ideas, or in the past we've had ideas on where certain things might fit, it's probably a good idea to take some input from people who actually have done it before. So that's kind of, you know, maybe where we were at a little bit with a developer is like, tell us what you see. And that doesn't mean that's what we need to do, but at least it's a jumping off point that somebody who's got more experience in actually, you know, doing the projects would have a different set of eyes than we have locally about doing that. So I'm excited about that and maybe see some movement in that direction anyway.
I know myself, it's been quite a few years since I've seen it, you know, probably in 18, so.
Sure. Would you all like an electronic copy or a printed copy?
Same, I'm good with electronic.
Okay.
She'll tell me anyway. She'll get a copy of it anyway.
Okay, I will get those out to you this week.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is that it?
I just also want to inform you all that we have an issue with well number 7. Well number 7 is one of our shallow wells. It's probably about 160 feet. We need to pull the well and we need to run a camera down there to see what's going on. It's, when they run the pump, it's been pulling sand up with the water. So we have to shut we had to shut the well down because we obviously don't want sand getting into our water system, and sand, dirt, so that is something that we're working with Sergeant on.
Which well is that?
Number 7 is out by our land that we lease for goat grazing with well number 5. And we hadn't operated well 7 for a little bit because we were having issues with the VFD. Well, we finally got all of those issues repaired. And when we finally kicked it back on, it gave us a little sand pile, so.
Steel casing, or is that?
Not 100% sure, but they're going to be, like I said, sending the camera down there to see if it's a problem with the casing, or if there's an issue at the bottom of the well. And our deep well project, we have released we have the advertisements out for the bid advertisements out. So we should be getting those back here soon and within the next 30 days. And we hope to have that project up and running here within the next couple of months.
Great.
That's all I have.
Anything else? Announcements, meetings?
So the next council meeting will be on October 11th. Oh, I'm sorry. Would be normally be on Monday, October 11th. However, Monday, October 11th is a federal holiday, so we request that the meeting be held on Tuesday the 12th or an alternate Monday during the month. It's up to you guys.
Tuesday, we have a county elected officials meeting.
I knew we had something going on that day.
So,
I didn't write it down, but I had it on my calendar at home.
other proposals?
Yeah, we could possibly hold it earlier on the Monday the 4th as opposed to.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
The 4th is fine.
Wait, though, I need dates. Because we have liquor license approval at that meeting, and we have to have 2 weeks of advertisements, and I have to have them back from
Okay, so we can't do it on the 4th.
Sorry.
We could do it on Monday the 18th, Wednesday. Or, I mean, we can certainly keep it on Monday the 11th. I'm just, that's not a problem.
No,
Just let us know. If we want to do that, that's absolutely fine.
What holiday's that?
Columbus Day.
I'm good with
Get it
coming
all
in.
I mean, we're fine with that, it's not a
You guys
problem.
working? Or you get the
We'll be
day off?
working if we come in here at 9.
Make it the 18th.
Yeah, the 18th is
The
fine with
18th
me,
is fine.
unless, how does everybody feel about the meeting schedule? Do you think we're meeting, the once a month meeting schedule so far is still working adequately? Meet our
I
needs?
believe for general town business that it works adequately. However, there have been a couple of times when it's a very tight timeline for getting some invoices processed. So I would suggest that if we don't necessarily have to go back to 2 council meetings, but I would suggest that maybe we form a finance committee that can approve invoices to be paid. Is that something that we would be able to do, Alex? And how many people would need to be on that?
The only finance committee that I've ever really worked with is the one in Cheyenne. The subcommittee doesn't really possess the authority to find a municipal corporation.
Okay.
So I hesitate to say, yay or nay on that without one thought.
Okay.
That's my concern about like next month, so we're into the 3rd Monday before we ever get bills paid.
Absolutely.
So maybe we do need one on the 4th and move
to at least get our bills paid
a
on
quick
time.
one on the 4th and move the,
Business
do you
and
think
liquor
do you think it's impossible that you get
I haven't,
stuff stacked up?
I can touch base with Kelly tomorrow and see where he's at with the
Okay.
approvals. I just sent them electronically.
I mean, I'm fine having the 2 meetings for the
Yeah.
liquor license issue, but,
Absolutely, yeah.
I'm concerned about going that deep into the month before we,
I just don't know the timeline, and I mean, if he sends back one and says I need additional information. And I have to advertise for 2 weeks prior to the hearing in order to be able.
So the 4th would be a really,
Yeah.
well, usually this is the easy part,
Sorry.
announcing the meetings.
Sort of mentioned your things.
Yeah, I think maybe like a quick
I
consent
think we
agenda.
plan on a meeting on the 4th,
Okay.
and if it only includes
Yeah.
the paying of bills and we can't get that on there, then I don't, how far out do we have to schedule these? Do we have to announce that we're going to have 2 meetings next month, or do we plan the 4th, and if we can't get it in, have an extra one on the 18th?
we'll be able to post something right away to the public, so it won't be a problem. I mean, that's,
I think it's only a 24-hour notice is all
it
you gotta
is,
do.
yeah.
So let's plan on the 4th, and if we can't get that information available to us by then, we'll add the 18th. How's that sound?
Great, and then, I mean, the 4th would be great also because then I may have some more information from a variety of companies on some of the issues that we talked about, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn. All in favor?
Bye.
Right?
Thank you.